Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Magically Cruising, the cruise podcast where we share our personal cruise tips and reviews to help you make the most out of your next sailing. My name's Kieran. I'm an independent travel agent specializing in all things cruise, Disney, and North America, and I'm joined by my fellow co-host.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I write over at Cruising for All, Cruising with Kids and Mini Travellers.
And this week we are going to be continuing our river cruise series, where we're going to be giving you a little bit of an insight in what it's like to take a river cruise. And we're very, very excited as well to be joined by a very special guest and a dear friend of ours as well, Lloyd from Avalon Waterways. Lloyd, do you want to say hello to everyone?
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for having me on today. My name's Lloyd. I'm one of the business development managers here at Avalon Waterways.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lloyd, for coming on. And I'm sure you guys, if you've been listening to probably the very first episode and probably every other episode where we keep talking about the river cruise that started this podcast, it was actually with Lloyd on Avalon Waterways as well. So Avalon are very dear to the podcast. So it's very, very great that you're here, Lloyd. So thank you for coming along.
Yeah, so Lloyd, we're absolutely thrilled that you could come on because obviously you were where it all started. If we hadn't have gone onto the Avalon cruise and met at the Clear event, then we wouldn't be sat here now. So thank you for that. But can you start by telling us a bit about Avalon?
Absolutely. So here at Avalon Waterways, we specialise in relaxed luxury river cruises through the European waterways, Asia and South America. We have currently 14 ships sailing the European waterways. We are very excited to be introducing a brand new ship on the Douro for 2024. It'll be our first time sailing on the Douro, so we're very, very excited to introduce that river into our portfolio. Best things about an Avalon river cruise is we have what we call an all-suite fleet. So no matter which of our ships you sail on in Europe, you have the deck plans, the cabin grades, the facilities across all of our fleet are exactly the same. And that really allows us to, really control the quality of the brand. It allows us to just be, really, really consistent in our approach to river cruising.
I think that's what I was most excited for as well, because obviously when we had, and that was the first river cruise conference out of COVID, so we got obviously a lot of ships that were there, but I was the most excited by yours because of those panorama suites that you have on board. I think they're very unique within the river industry. And when you first step into them, I think the fact that you're greeted by the river is magical, but then the fact that your bed faces the river as well, I think is such a cool way to explore the rivers of Europe as well. So I think obviously having the chance then to sail in those as well. And obviously if you guys are watching on the video version, you can see now. So this is the picture on Sarah's backdrop where she was next to us. And then Lloyd actually has a picture as well of kind of that bed facing out to the river as well. But it's just such an iconic feature of the fleet as well and really lovely. And I think the majority, am I right, as well, are those panorama suites, aren't they, on board?
Yep, so 80% of our cabins, a whole 2 decks across all of our soon-to-be 15 ships are panorama suites. So we have, instantly, as you say, greeted with that incredible wall-to-wall, floor-to-ceiling, sliding glass door that opens 11 foot. It measures 11 foot and opens a full 7. And we really like to, use that as our very own open-air balcony. So it really, really bringing the outside in. River cruising so famous for the incredible scenery on offer. It's constantly changing. There's always something just to sit back, relax, and enjoy the wonderful views outside. So when Avalon started building our suite ships, I believe it was just over 10 years ago now, we really wanted to design something unique. A lot of other river cruise companies don't actually have their beds facing the beach. They actually have their beds facing the wall, and river cruising is so famous for the scenery on offer. So you really can wake up in the morning, open your curtains, jump back into bed, and have that incredible bed with a view. The cabins are a great size as well, so 200 square foot of living space, so a really generous amount of living space. The beds are so comfy. We have our wonderful comfort collection beds with a choice of pillows. So there's a pillow menu. You have a variety of mattress toppers as well. So you can really make it your own cabin for however long you are sailing with us.
I adored our cabin. And what was really amazing, I mean, the staff are incredible on Avalon Waterways. And we arrived in our cabin travelling with Donna, and we just didn't have enough coat hangers. So we said to the cabin attendant, she come and said hello. We said, could we have some more coat hangers? And she came, and you've never seen so many coat hangers in your life. But it was just And waking up in the morning and opening those curtains and just sat with a coffee. And we were near the coffee room, so we could just nip down and get the cappuccinos, specialty coffees, and just sat in your bed with a coffee looking out at the river passing by. It was just, I can't
It
describe.
really is the best way
It's so
to
relaxing.
start your day.
It's so
Yeah,
relaxing.
it's fantastic, and then that's another amazing thing about a river cruise is you're waking up somewhere new
Yeah.
every single day.
Yeah.
You know, on a typical, we sailed on the Danube. We did one of our shorter 5-night sailings, but on a typical 7-night Danube river cruise, you'd sail through 3 countries. So you know, you unpack once, you know, your luxury vessel, unpack once, and you visit, you know, 3 different countries on the Danube. You know, you're visiting so many different wonderful cities, Budapest, Vienna, Bratislava, but then also hitting those really magical smaller towns and villages along the way. So again, we were lucky enough to sail through the Wachau Valley in Austria, which is my backdrop today. We would have seen, you know, that beautiful stretch of the river. You know, it's magnificent. The scenery, the vineyards, it's quite a pinch me moment, you know, goosebumps. It's so surreal being on the rivers, and just, you know, sailing, and you know, you where you dock, you're right in the city centres, right in the heart of the towns and villages. So, you know, you can come off the ship and be right in the destination, which is a fantastic selling point to any river cruise.
I love that you could just get off and walk somewhere. It's not a big deal getting anywhere, is it?
I think that's the really cool thing that I loved about our experience of the river as well. Is just that real mix of the type of experience you can get. And obviously you're staying in this gorgeous, you know, floating hotel ultimately that has really beautiful amenities. But then you also go into kind of capital cities and you can take part in that kind of cultural tour if you wanted to. Like we went to the museum, we went to the art museum, didn't we, in Vienna type of thing. But other people decided to go shopping. You kind of can do that right, pick and choose your own adventure type of thing. If you're somebody who wanted to go, some guys did the opera, I believe. So you can totally do that. You can go for a really cultured, sophisticated thing. You can also go do lots of history as well if you're big into kind of the history of kind of the region as well. I think it's really cool that you can totally tailor make that as much as you want, but you've still got this beautiful base to kind of do that exploring from as well each day. But then equally, then just further on down the river, we were going to these little tiny pocket villages surrounded by really, you know, authentic culture as well, and seeing that real authentic Europe rather than, and everyone loves city break. I'm not knocking on a city break, but it's that juxtaposition, literally a few hours of your day apart, where you're going from a big city to literally the small town lifestyle as well, to the small village and meeting local community and small bakeries and things like that. I think it's just a really lovely, authentic way to see Europe that you probably wouldn't do if you were doing it in just a city break only.
So a question that people that haven't been on a river cruise would want to know is the ship. So because when you look at the price point, it's often is a little bit more expensive than an ocean cruise. But Lloyd, why is that?
It's purely because of the inclusions. You get so much more included in a river cruise. So, you know, all your food is taken care of. With Avalon, you get regional wines, beers, and soft drinks with your lunch and dinner. New for 2023, we've also introduced happy hour. So happy hour drinks are also included. So your customers get to choose from a range of cocktails, house wine, beers, spirits, and they're included for an hour before dinner every single evening. So you can head off to dinner after a couple of nice cocktails. You also get a choice of daily excursions with Avalon. So we have our wonderful Avalon Choice program. So clients can choose from a classical walking tour, historic site. We may have a discovery option, which is more kind of more immersive, you know, cooking classes, visits to a winery, which I know is one of the excursions we did. And then we also have a range of active excursions as well. So active can be, you know, a cycling tour of a city, hiking through the vineyards of Rudesheim on the Rhine. So we have a whole host of classical included excursions, discovery, and active. So you do get a daily choice of excursions included in the price as well. We have the gratuities all covered for the cruise director and crew. You have 24/7 tea, coffee, and making facilities available on board as well. So you do just get so much more included on a river cruise than what you do on an ocean cruise.
And you do really notice that, I think. I mean, on our next ocean cruise we've got, I've been looking at excursions, and there was one that I was looking at, and just for the three of us, it was something like $780. You think, when we was on the Avalon Waterways trip, and it will be my favourite excursion of my whole cruise life, was going to Franz Ferdinand's castle. It was just, I mean, Donna was so starstruck. She came out and she's like, I can't believe we met his granddaughter. And she had this chocolate coin, and she's going, I'll treasure it forever. It was like, it was a chocolate coin. But it was just, it was an amazing experience. And we were in his castle, and we saw, well, obviously it's not the best subject, but it was incredible. And you don't get to do that on ocean cruises. And God only knows what the price would be.
Absolutely, that is one of the benefits of a river cruise, is you do get so much included in your cruise fare, and so much more is taken care of, and you've not got to worry about spending money and how much you're going to be paying for things. Excursions are included, and that's a big part of what we do here at Avalon.
I think one of Donna's bar bill was €170. Was it euros?
Well, we
or
definitely
pounds?
maximised the happy hour, didn't we? We maximised. So back when we did it, happy hour was buy one get one free. Well, we get one half price, I think, wasn't it? So I think we become experts in maximising how long happy hour would last back when we did it.
We were a big group, so we were really enjoying the evenings. But yeah, when we were on last year, we did the happy hour drinks were half price. We listened to customer feedback, and we were always wanting to obviously really enhance the experience for customers. So new for 2023 was that we would be including happy hour drinks in the price of the cruise fare, and it's gone down really, really well. I was on board in May, and it's really nice just to have that hour before dinner, just to really enjoy a couple of drinks, whether that be in the Panorama Lounge, or if it's warm enough to sit out on deck, or in the observation area as well.
And I think it can be underestimated as well that you have some really fantastic signature cocktails as well. So it's not like you're getting classic cocktails. You do have your own bespoke cocktails on board as well. And you have a dedicated mixologist as well. So you're getting a full, high-end cocktail experience. And I take this passionately because me and Phil are big into like signature cocktails. And that was one of our favorite things. That's why we were getting literally like dragged to dinner every day, because we were just like, oh no, one more, let's have another drink, just because the cocktails were so good. And again, I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, not everyone's a big drinker, but just that alone is fantastic. Like that cocktail experience, the drink experience on board. And that's again how we all bonded, wasn't it? It was just over the cocktails, because the conversation's going really well. You're in this beautiful backdrop as you're kind of either sailing or in port. It really was a lovely way to kind of spend the evening, then going down to dinner and then having your wine then with your meals as well. Then maybe taking a glass or two back upstairs to carry on drinking more cocktails as well. It's just such a lovely way to spend your evening on board. And again, that's all included in kind of your cruise fare as well.
Definitely. It's an amazing way to start the evening. Some evenings after dinner, we may have kind of onboard entertainment as well. So maybe a singer, local band. So that's a really, really nice opportunity after dinner to head back up to the main lounge and enjoy the evening then, the evening's entertainment. And that's a really another amazing thing about river cruises. Some evenings you can be in dock. So if you're overnight in a destination, that means you can get off the ship and go and explore independently. As we already said, you dock right in the heart of the towns and villages we visit. So sometimes there'll be opportunity to enjoy the destination of an evening as well.
One thing I want to talk a little bit more about as well, because I think you do a really great job with it, is your kind of choice of excursions that are in the program as well. And you've alluded to it briefly, and you've talked a lot about kind of the active program as well versus the kind of more classic kind of sightseeing program as well. And I think that was my perception I had maybe of river before, that it was very sedate, it was very kind of relaxing and slow and everything, but equally it can be very full on if you wanted to as well. Like you've obviously mentioned, you've got the bikes that you can borrow on board as well to kind of go off and do biking trails, but you've also got like the fitness coordinator on board as well, haven't you, that can curate like a whole fitness program as well for those who have got like an active lifestyle. You've got all that happening on board as well. So I think it's really good to talk more, maybe a bit more about kind of that choice that you have between doing something that's maybe a bit more classic that you would expect, like a sightseeing tour, versus maybe something a bit more unusual where you can do something a bit more active and explore.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of our ships now have a dedicated adventure host on board. So he or she will be, leading our fitness excursions, our active excursions. They'll also be organising, not that I've ever gone, but organising, early morning stretches, yoga on deck. If clients want something specific, when they're on board with us, they are there to be able to, do that for our guests as well. So that's a newer concept that we introduced a couple of years ago, is to have an adventure host on every single ship. We have our Avalon Fresh range on board as well. So if we have clients that want to maintain that really healthy aspect of their life when they're on board, they can choose our Avalon Fresh range for dining as well. And that's something we do really, really well here at Avalon, is giving our clients the choice. We want our guests to choose the excursions, the sightseeing trips that interest them the most. So we don't have, just one every single day. There's always a choice for our guests to choose from. So whether that be something more, classic, a walking tour, visiting a historic site with a local guide, or something more active. Back last October, I did a shorter sailing on the Rhine, and we visited Rudesheim, and the group wanted to do the hike through the vineyards, which is a really, really nice excursion. I've done a lot of the sightseeing tours on the bikes. So we'll have like cycling tours through cities. Again, just a different way to explore a city on a bike. And then I've also done things like chocolate making, wine tasting. We've had painting classes, so they're part of our discovery program. So it's all about giving clients the choice to choose exactly what they want to do and see on an Avalon cruise.
And who is your customer?
I mean, it does range. Our typical customer is kind of 55 plus, but we are seeing younger river cruisers, new to river cruise clients, wanting to give river cruising a try after being on an ocean cruise. So yeah, it's although it's averagely 55 plus, there are we have started to see kind of multi-generation families, groups, everybody giving it a try. We have some shorter sailings, so if clients don't necessarily want to sign up for a full week or a fortnight, they can do one of our 3, 4, 5 night cruises.
Right.
Yeah.
So one thing that really took me by surprise, and I had this perception before I did my first river cruise as well, that it was kind of more for the older market, and that it was going to be very sedate, and it would be lots of kind of sightseeing and things like that. But I was really surprised, particularly with you guys as well, with the range of choice you've got. So obviously you do have the classic tours available, so you can do the things you would expect to do on a river cruise. You've also got a really good active program as well on board, and you have like your fitness coordinator as well, who can kind of help build a more kind of fit and active program on board as well. Do you want to just talk a little bit more about the thought that goes into kind of building those excursions and activities for people when they are on board?
Yeah, definitely. So all of the ships now have a dedicated adventure host on board. So they are there for all of our, our fitness activities, our active excursions. So, they'll be organising things like, morning yoga classes. They'll be leading a lot of our active excursions as well. And that really is the beauty of an Avalon River Cruise, is we want to give our clients the choice to do and see exactly, how they wish to on their holidays. So we do have, your classical walking tours, your historical sites. We have a huge range of active excursions, so whether that be, hiking through the vineyards of Rudesheim on the Rhine River, which I've done, and it's a really, really, fantastic excursion we offer. And I've also done a lot of the biking tours through cities, which again are, it's an amazing experience to, go through a city on a bike, on a guided tour. So that, it's all about allowing our customers to choose excursions that interest them the most, instead of just having a one fit all approach. We're really allowing customers to, if they want to do something more active, we have those excursions. If they want to do, something more of like a walking tour, we have those. And then we also have a huge range of discovery tours as well. So, that's kind of more immersive experiences. And something that we're really proud of at Avalon is our active and discovery cruises as well. So this is one of our concept itineraries we have. So we have, I believe it's 8 itineraries now for 2024. And those cruises are more active and discovery. The approach is more, active and discovery, less classical walking tours, more discovery, more active excursions.
That was the one thing that took me by surprise the most, of just how active it is as well. And obviously because your excursions are included, you do feel this sense of, I have to try everything. And I tried things that maybe I wouldn't necessarily have done if I was on an ocean cruise and I was seeing that ticket for how much I was paying to the excursion, which is awful to say that. But I think it's just fantastic that that's baked into the experience. So you can try things that maybe you wouldn't necessarily do at home or you wouldn't do normally on a cruise. But also just the sheer choice and the things you can do. And I've talked about this previously before, but when we got to visit the working camp as well, it's not something that I would naturally gravitate towards to see kind of, a World War working camp. But I'm so glad that I did. And I went out of my comfort zone to go experience something like that, because it still to this day stays with me. It's one of those experiences of, it frames something that, nobody wants to think too actively about. And I probably would never have been in that part of the world to visit the Mauthausen one. And I wouldn't have done that if it wasn't included in the program. And I feel enriched now because I did that experience. And I wouldn't have done that if I wasn't on board a river cruise in that sailing, the Danube, and going to that part of the world. I think it's just really great that these are the opportunities that are available to you if you do take a river cruise. You're seeing not only amazing sightseeing in cities, but you're also then going off the beaten path and doing things that maybe you wouldn't normally get the chance to do.
And I totally agree with that. I've done the Mauthausen concentration camp twice, and it's the most sobering experience. But as you say, it's something that we should do to look back and realize the history we have. So there are fun, really active excursions as well. But we do have that range of the classical things that you would expect on a river cruise. And one of the things I love to do, I went on board in May on my own holidays. I was only a 3-night taster cruise that I did. Because I'd sailed on the Danube quite a few times, I decided not to do any of the excursions, but to take the bikes off every single day. So me and my partner just, we have a range of bikes on every single ship, and we booked 2 of them in each of the ports, and we just took them off for a couple of hours and just went, cycled along the river, stopping off, having a coffee or a beer or whatever it may be. And that's a really nice way to experience a river cruise. It can be as active or as relaxing as you want it to be. If you don't fancy any of the excursions, or there's nothing taking your fancy, you can stay on board the ship. You'd have the whole ship to yourself one day. So you can head up to the deck. You can use our hot tub. We have sun loungers that clients can use on deck as well. So it can be as active or relaxed as you want it to be.
I did do that one day, and it was when you all went to the working camp, and it was just because I knew that I couldn't emotionally cope with that at that moment in time. So I stayed on the ship, and honestly, I'm so glad I did, because I had the best day. And I just remember being sat in the observation lounge with a glass of wine and my laptop thinking, this is the life. And we were sailing as well, because we met you somewhere else. Because we do, and I've noticed that all the time that we're talking about river cruise, we're talking about the activities and the land, but the ships are incredible. I mean, it's a luxury boutique hotel. You've got to see it to believe it, the experience, the staff. So I think having a day to enjoy that is also a really good option.
But one of the other things that I know, obviously, we've talked a little bit about, like the luxury aspect. Yes, we are, a 5-star river cruise line, but we really do pride ourselves in offering that more of a relaxed feel on board. So, with Avalon, it's attentive and intrusive service. It's smart casual cruising. As you guys know, it's, the ships are very contemporary and they're very modern. And it's very much so that home from home experience is what we're trying to create, not it's not a stuffy experience on board. It's really, really relaxed. It's very much a relaxed luxury. And another thing to note about Avalon is actually we have fewer passengers on board our ships versus our competitors. So all river ships are built, with weight and width and length restrictions in mind. obviously, the rivers are, there's bends in the rivers, there's locks to go through. So you have to be careful on the size of ship you put on the rivers in Europe. So because our cabins are larger than the industry standard, that basically means we have fewer passengers on board. So our average ship sails with around about 150 passengers, whereas the kind of norm for river cruise is around about 200 guests. So our public areas on board never feel congested. There's always, plenty of space to chill out, whether that be on top deck, in our panorama lounge, or our club lounge located at the back of the ship, which is open 24/7. And you have all your tea and coffee making facilities there as well, which is such a nice area just to, go grab a book if you're sailing and just kind of really watch the world go by. It's one of my favourite areas on board our ship.
I love that
I didn't
lounge.
spend much time there. I was really kicking myself the whole time. So I really wanted to have that, like Sarah said, that moment where you sat there and, you're by yourself. But we were so busy doing all the excursions and getting off the ship but it's such a beautiful space. It's really bright. It's airy. It overlooks the back of the ship as well. So particularly if you're sailing, you've got those amazing views. But you've got like board games and books you can borrow as well. So if you want to kind of get people together and so if you don't want to partake in the busier lounge at the front, you can just have a quiet moment at the back then yourself and still take a drink back there or have a tea and coffee type of thing. I think it's just lovely to have those two different spaces that you can kind of relax into in different ways. I think it's just a really lovely choice. And that's the key thing about it. It gives you a lot of choice on board.
It definitely does. There's so many areas where you could just kind of, go and chill for a little while. And we've not even touched on food yet. Food on board.
Oh, that steak was amazing.
The food is just as any cruise is. It's endless. You're always being fed. There's a choice of dining options on board as well. So it's just the most amazing experience, and I'd highly recommend it to anybody of all ages. I know Sarah, you were on about it being suitable for families, and there is, I think people these days are looking for something different, and river cruise really does provide that. There's so many rivers to explore. We're always kind of looking at new destinations. One of the rivers I'd love to go on is the Mekong in Asia, and there's just so much to choose from. Anybody that's new to river, we'd highly recommend the Danube or the Rhine as a really good starting point. As we did, they're great rivers to explore, and you just really get that bug for really getting out and exploring as many rivers as possible. I'd love to go on the Rhone in South of France. I know quite a few colleagues that have done that one recently, and they just said it's incredible. The range of excursions are supposed to be, really, really good for customers as well.
I mean, if you like wine, then that's just the ultimate cruise, isn't it? And also, if you like city breaks, I think, because a lot of people go to a city break, come back, and they'll do a couple in a year. And you can actually do 4 city breaks in a river cruise, which is incredible. And I do think that definitely, our sons are young adults now, and they would love it because they like a city break. So booking 2 cabins, getting on and off the ship, going for drinks in towns. I just think the opportunity is incredible with river cruising. You can see so much and relax and in luxury. So I think that's great. So what rivers do you sail on?
So we sail on all the major European rivers. So, the Rhine, the Danube, the Moselle, the Rhone. As I say, our 2 biggest rivers are the Rhine and the Danube. They're really, really popular. We have a few varieties of ways clients can experience those rivers. You can also do the Rhine and the Danube in one holiday. So we have magnificent rivers of Europe. So you can combine those 2 rivers into one holiday. New for 2024, we're launching our first ever ship on the Douro, which is really, really exciting for us. We've never had a ship on the Douro, and it's sold so well for 2024. We also have the Nile in Egypt, which is a really exciting destination that's really popular at the moment. And the Mekong as well. We have one of our sweet ships on the Mekong in Cambodia and Vietnam. It's a beautiful ship. So if we've got clients wanting kind of more intimate cruising, It's the max capacity on board is 36
Wow.
guests.
Wow.
Yeah, staterooms, all suites. It's a beautiful, beautiful ship.
Yeah.
And the excursions there are really tailored to the local communities and really getting out into experiencing the way of life there. And I think that's really, really exciting when you're heading over to Vietnam and Cambodia. But yeah, there are so many rivers to explore. Anybody that is new to river cruise, we have shorter sailings, so 3, 4, and 5 nights, which you can combine with a city stay. So I did our Taste of the Danube sailing in May. So we started in Vienna and we added 2 nights in Vienna before the cruise. We did the 3-night sailing, finishing in Budapest. We flew home from Budapest, but there would be an opportunity to add on, an extra few nights in Budapest. And we also do have land tours that clients can add, so they can combine the river with a land tour. We also own Cosmos and Globus tours, so we have a great program on land as well. So cruise and stay packages are really, really popular for customers as well.
So I suppose if for our American audience, that's because when you come to Europe, you want to be here a bit longer and get as much in as possible, then adding a tour makes the trip a bit more meaty, doesn't it? And allows you that time to explore.
We do find that, a lot of our American guests, Canadian clients that are coming that much further to reach Europe, they do spend so much longer. You can book Avalon as a cruise only package, or you can book it with flights. So a lot of our clients will tag it on to a larger European trip, and they'll come over to the UK. Then maybe they'll do a Globus or a Cosmos tour. So they a lot of the time they're coming to Europe for a couple of weeks. So you are able to just book the cruise only package as well, which I think allows that really flexible approach. Can really tailor make their trip. Train services in Europe are fantastic, so you can get around really, really easily as well.
So where do you do the tours then? I mean, so say we work a lot with American audiences. So say, I know that the UK is a huge draw. I mean, obviously we've got the Beatles, we've got Manchester, we've got London. So do you do UK tours or are they European tours?
So I think with Avalon, there are a select amount of tours you can add on to an Avalon cruise. So you can add on, I believe there's a Switzerland Globus tour you can add on with one of our Rhine River cruises. And then, we don't necessarily offer every single Cosmos or Globus tour combining with an Avalon cruise.
Right, okay.
If you can match up dates, there's definitely an opportunity to be able to book, a tour and then the cruise separately and get in between the destinations, which we know a lot of our customers do.
That's really exciting, isn't it? Because it's like when we're going to America next year and we want to fit it all in. It's the same in reverse.
It's exactly the same concept. If we're going over to Canada, we're gonna do the Rockies, and we're always gonna add on the cruise because you're only going once, you may as well just really go for it. I think that's a big thing that our guests do. And some of our cruises, they are 2 weeks and longer. So if you want to combine multiple rivers into the one holiday, we don't just have 7-night sailings. There's longer sailings for clients wanting those as well.
What's the longest you offer then?
So the longest I think we offer is into the 20 days. I believe it's about 21 days.
I'm sure I've seen like a 21-day one, haven't I, somewhere?
Yeah.
We should do that, Kieran. We should book that.
I'll come with
this
you.
plan to never be home still. Like literally, I'm just gonna 1 year. I'm literally just gonna be away the entire year and be on the ship constantly. The Wi-Fi bills will be extortionate, but that's my plan.
Make
for 1
sure
year.
Ivan's on it, that he makes the best cocktails. He was amazing, Ivan, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Another thing I was just going to mention quickly as well about our themed cruises. So if you've got,
I was going to say that was going to be my next topic of themed cruises. Yeah.
If you've got special interests, so one of the ones I love, we offer wine cruises. So we do a Danny Dreams for wine lovers, Burgundy and Provence for wine lovers. So we actually have a master of wine traveling on the cruise with our customers. And I didn't know till recently, there's only 450 masters of wines around the world. So I think it's a
Wow,
really nice
really?
experience to be able to cruise with a master of wine, and they'll do, wine
Yeah.
pairing, they'll do talks, and the cruise is themed around wine. We have, history cruises, Christmas markets. What an amazing
Oh,
experience to go on a river
yeah.
cruise,
Really want to do a
really
river, Christmas river
markets.
cruise.
So we have, loads of Christmas market sailings. We have culinary cruises if you've got, clients that like cooking and like food. So, we have a huge range of themed cruises as
Yeah.
well. We've got 2025 on sale. So I know we've got some new itineraries, which include music and jazz leather cruises as well. So, another
Wow,
exciting
cool.
concept cruise we're offering. Um, Nature and garden lovers is a huge program for us as well. On the tulip cruises earlier on in kind of April, March and April time. So there's a huge range of theme cruises as well. Bring your special interest onto a cruise, which a lot of our customers do. We have beer tasting cruises, so there's a huge range of themed cruises as well.
Do you do craft cruises?
Not craft, no, but that's definitely an idea I think we should put forward.
Well, if you need a presenter.
There we go. Perfect.
You could stand two mad English women running it. Yeah. People want that now, don't they? They want to put it in with their interest and have something.
Absolutely. I'd love to do one of the wine cruises. I'd love to learn more about, the wine regions and, and pairing wine. I love cooking, so I'd love to be able to, pair, wines better than just going to the supermarket and pulling a bottle off the shelf. So, it's a really exciting program we do run.
They are forecasting, though, it's going to be the big trend for 2024. It's like themed holidays, at least anyway, in general. They're the big trend now. So as you say, people they want more enrichment. They want more kind of their hobbies. They want to marry the two of travel and their personal hobbies as well. So it is set to be a really big trend moving forward now as well with people.
Yeah, it's something that we've added the jazz and the music cruises to 2025. So the themed cruises is something that's really, really growing for Avalon. And on that kind of subject of experts, obviously all of our cruises are overseen by an expert cruise director. They've worked for the Globus family, Avalon for a long time. They know the rivers really, really well. They know the local areas really, really well. They're there to make sure everything runs really, really smoothly for our guests. So, if there, is any ever need doing your cruise, we have a dedicated cruise director on hand to really help and, and really bring the local areas to light for our guests.
Was it Martina on ours? Was it Martina?
I want to say Katerina, wasn't it?
Katerina,
yeah. That's it, Katerina.
Yeah.
She was amazing. And her knowledge when she did the talks when we were on deck and when we were passing places of significance. They were really interested. Yeah. She was excellent. She really knew her stuff.
Katerina's from Budapest. Obviously, we sailed from Budapest, so
yes,
she's worked for Avalon for such a long time. She's a true expert, and it's amazing just to have somebody to make sure everything's running so smoothly for our guests. They do the port talks. We also, as you guys experience, we have our wonderful Avalon Go app. All of our menus, all of our daily programs are downloadable on the app as well.
Well, that was excellent, that app.
That's probably something that doesn't get talked about enough. It's just how unintrusive that is, though, as well. It's really great if you want that. You can use the app to check the menus. You can check kind of all the activities and plan your activities. You've also got the touch points as well by the entrance and exits as well, haven't you? So you can kind of view the schedule there as well and see what's available. But it's not intrusive. It doesn't run the cruise for you as well. So if you're somebody who doesn't want to engage with technology while you're away, you could totally still do that the manual way, like you say, by speaking to the cruise director and just generally asking what would they recommend. We fancy this. I think it's great because her desk was literally right in the foyer, wasn't it? So she was directly across from guest services. You could just pop to her anytime she was there. And dealing with us as well, because we were a group of travel agents as well who were on board that trip, who hadn't been kind of planned ahead, whereas some people, maybe they knew what they wanted to do. Some of the paying guests, they knew what activities, because they'd obviously planned well and ahead. We were all kind of going, what's good? What do you recommend? She'd done a really good job of kind of working with all of us to make sure that we all got the chance to do what tours we were interested in. She balanced the groups out as well to make sure that we tried everything. She did definitely best of work really hard, that sailing, to kind of look after us and make sure we were all enjoying everything possible. But as you say, her knowledge was incredible as well. And just that friendly welcome every day you get on board. She was just there constantly, like really happy to welcome us. was really lovely to have that one person, you know, kind of held your hand as much as you wanted it to be held as well, rather than forcing you to do stuff.
Can I bring it back to the food? Because I don't think we've really covered or done the food justice, because I just thought it was incredible. So I think people assume it's going to be a buffet because it's a small ship, but it's not, is it? So can you tell us a bit about the food, Lloyd?
So breakfast and lunch is buffet style, but it's still, you know, you're being served. It's still kind of freshly, you know, being made. And then the evening meal is a 4-course a la carte dinner. So, you know, it's all regionally inspired menus. So, you know, our chefs are cooking our meals based on the rivers that we're sailing on. And we also do have familiar favorites on board. So, you know, we're using the freshest ingredients. We're getting, you know, wine delivered from local vineyards and ingredients, you know, delivered from local producers. So it's all, you know, really kind of regionally inspired menus. You know, the food on board, as you guys know, it's spectacular. You know, it's high quality. You know, it's a great part of any cruise I think you go on. The dining experience is phenomenal. What I also love about Avalon is that of an evening, you know, if you've had a really long day, you've been on an excursion that involved a lot of eating. You know, we have some, you know, excursions where you're out, you know, sampling local cuisine as well. You don't always want a full, you know, big meal in the evening. Our clients can go to our Panoramic bistro and get smaller dishes. So we have like smaller, I say like tapas style dishes. They're just kind of smaller portions, and it's a little bit more casual there. You still get your wine and your soft drinks and your beer included. And that's really good if you are docking of an evening. You can just use that, grab a little bite to eat and head off. And another a concept I love is our bistro. So we have our barbecue
Yes.
on deck. Did we do the barbecue on deck?
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
yes,
we did. Yeah.
We were March.
I think it was the last day. The weather was we were really lucky with the weather, wasn't we? Because that's what we were all a bit worried about. But we had glorious weather for the entire voyage. It was amazing.
Yeah. So weather permitting, we also have, you know, a barbecue set up a couple of times a week, which, you know, it's a lot of the time when you're docked and you're in port, and, you know, the atmosphere on deck is fantastic. And, you know, the chefs are preparing and serving all the food there as well. So you can also dine in your stateroom complimentaries if you want to have breakfast in your cabin. We can organise that for our guests as well. So that's all complimentary. You can just choose what you want the night before, pop your form out on the door, and then that'll come to your cabin the following morning. So that's a really, really nice thing to be able to do as well.
The other thing was Phil, Kieran's husband, and I are both gluten-free, and I thought they dealt with that really well. I mean, we had a few hiccups. You always do when people get to know what you can eat and what you can't. But when we did the barbecue, when I went to get my food, and I said, I might need a gluten-free bun, and they were doing beer as well, and they had separately ready for Phil and I the gluten-free buns and the gluten-free beer. So we didn't have to. I mean, all right, we had to tell them who we were, but it was there. It was ready. They just preempted that we might want barbecue, and they catered for us. You're not going to get that on a big ship. It's brilliant. It's that personal service that just really counts.
You know how I now gauge whether we've had like a good cruise is if I have to not hear Phil complain about food at some point during the week. If we get to it halfway through the cruise and Phil's complaining about the lack of food, then I'm like, great, we're never going to do this again then. But honestly, on Avalon, I didn't hear from him once because he was so well looked after. Even like the afternoon tea service, once they realised he was on board.
Oh yeah, we got afternoon
Sarah was
tea.
on board as well.
About afternoon tea as well.
Yeah. Even like they were then bringing up gluten-free afternoon tea desserts for him, type of thing. So he was like every day he was rushing back to the ship to get afternoon. Oh, it's afternoon tea. Come on, let's get back.
And he was having two. Because I was like, I can't eat afternoon tea every day. So I was like, Phil, it was. He loved it.
But honestly, that's the level of like service when I don't get complaints. I know we're onto a good thing because I'm like, great, Phil's been looked after. That's, you know, when your partner's not complaining about some simple things like and I get it because I'm able to enjoy everything. So I felt a bit, I usually sometimes feel guilty of like, I'm having a lovely time. And when the other person's not, because there's very limited options, it makes you miserable then because you know for a fact they're suffering. So not once did I hear him complain about what was available food-wise, which, like I say, is a reason to book alone for that.
Absolutely. And how we handle that. So at the beginning of the cruise on the first day, the chef will have a meeting with anybody that has any dietary requirements, and then we're able to have that conversation with the clients one on one and really be able to cater for their needs. So we will always do our very best to cater for dietary requirements. Another thing, obviously, in the club lounge, there's always cookies and donuts and snacks as well.
Oh
so
my God, yes.
Yeah. I used to...
Every day I was going there and I was like hand fisting loads of cookies to take out with me as well as like trail snacks. They were so good.
There's a certain day they do donuts. Like, I think it's a Tuesday, and every ship I go on, I'm
yes,
like,
I remember you with a donut.
Yeah.
I actually remember
You would tell everyone, yeah.
And when I did I did the tulips and Holland Waterways last year, and it had this like wafer I can't think what they call. They're like wafer caramels, and you put them on the top of your tea, and then
stroop waffles.
Yes, and then they were just so amazing. So there's always, I mean, when I go on board for a week, when I've been on board for a week before, I'm just you're rolling. It's food overload.
How was the tulip cruise?
So we do a few tulip time cruises. So they are April and May. March, April, and May time. I actually did our active discovery on the waterways of Holland and Belgium I think it was later on in May. So again, a great river. Something different to what I've experienced on the Danube and the Rhine.
I love tulip sea, so it's really appealed to me. And obviously Phil's background is floristry as well. So every time it comes up, I'm like, one day I'd love to do that.
Is it the Kick and Half Gardens? Yes, we visit. That's the focus on those early spring cruises.
I guess as well, like if you're into gardening, you're into flowers, then I get if you're kind of, cause I know there's lots of groups out there as well, they get together and they kind of do gardening and floristry and things like that. I think that would be an amazing one to do as well. If you're big into kind of floristry and things like that, it'd be a great one to kind of bookmark to put on your radar, isn't it?
Another thing, actually, that you're never short of, and this is my biggest bugbear, is water. And because we were near that back observation lounge, there was fruit all the time, and I could go and get water, and they had sparkling water as well. So it's just my biggest thing, that water's a basic human right, and when you've got to pay for it, it just really grates me. But you could just go and fill up with water whenever you wanted, and I thought that was amazing. Again, it's another thing of what's included on a river cruise.
We don't have any single-use plastic on board, so all of the cabins have 2 glass bottles that are replaced every single day. If you need a bottle, you can borrow a bottle off reception. We have stations around the ship, so we don't have any single-use plastic on board. So we really encourage guests to bring a bottle. If they don't have a bottle, we can supply a bottle, and they can refill as they go in. But you also have the water in the cabins as well, which is restocked every single day.
Yeah, which is
it's
excellent.
also flavoured as well, though, wasn't it? So you could get still sparkling,
yes.
You can get sparkling flavoured water as well, which was my favourite thing. I would think every day I was having some of the, I forgot what it was. I want to say it was grapefruit, but I was having like pink grapefruit. I think it was sparkling water as well all the time, just because it was so easy. And like I said, you could just help yourself to it. It was just such a lovely thing to do every day.
No, my only thing that I would mention is just because I loved it every time, and I got more excited the more we did it, was the locks. Because I think that's such a big part of river cruising, isn't it? So how many locks are there on the Danube? It's a ridiculous amount, isn't it?
Oh, that's the question I do not know the answer to. I always find the locks just so... I just can never understand how they you just go all the way down, and it's just... I remember our first evening when we went through a lock, everyone just running up to watch, didn't they? Because they just found it so, just such a cool experience. But yeah, I'm not too sure how many there are in the Danube, but I know there's quite a few.
It's definitely a good one to do, to get that experience of, because it is just it's bonkers. I just loved it. And just like you say, when you're in the lock, everything's dark.
And then you come up and everything's like light again. And
it's just really interesting, the whole mechanics of how it works. I find it fascinating.
So what I love about evening cruises is, you come back to your cabin after your dinner, after you've gone and had a couple of drinks and whatever. and you open up your panorama suite, and you just think to yourself, what where am I? Because you're in the middle of nowhere, but you can see so much. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I love the fact that you can see land from more or less everywhere, can't you? And
yeah,
I find that fascinating. All the little twinkling lights, and in the day, the scenery that you don't get on ocean. I mean, I love ocean, but river is a whole new element of excitement and stuff to see. It's incredible.
There's always something to see, constantly changing scenery. We have no days at sea with the river cruise. There's no sea days, and you are only, as you have land either side of you, so close. It's fantastic. Just think, we're just going to, go and sit and just kind of watch the world go by, and, just really, really enjoy that element of cruising, and just being able to always watch something. Whereas with an ocean cruise, you just sail from country to country. Whereas with a river cruise, you sail through the heart of some of the most beautiful regions in Europe and further afield, which is something you just, you don't do on an ocean cruise. When we say we go to, Budapest, we actually go to Budapest. We don't stop, an hour outside of Budapest. That's one of the really beautiful things about a river cruise experience. And I think anybody that's thinking about it, I would just, definitely urge them to try it, give it a go, and you will love it so much. River cruise is one of the fastest growing sectors in the travel industry. Everybody is trying it, everybody's talking about it. It's so popular at the moment.
My husband, I mean, he's sold on it. That was his way to travel now. He wants to do every river. He loves it. So maybe that's because we're 50. You can take that out.
You so know it's staying in. You so know it's staying in. We said it when we were on board as well, of just, I 100% admit I had a perception about it being kind of like for old people, and it was nothing but just sitting around to drink tea and coffee, which is lovely. I'm not knocking it. It's a lovely way to travel.
But it's not.
But I had that perception. But I had that perception, and that's all it was. And, that is equally an incredible way to travel. And I was always looking forward to it. But I was just so surprised by how enriched I was by doing the river experience, everything, of having those amazing, the onboard experience is worth every penny. You cannot fault the inclusions and the onboard experience, how lovely it is to do the scenic river cruising. That is worth every penny. There's no denying that. But it's how it goes beyond that as well, though. The connection to the land program on board as well. So kind of all the amazing enrichment you can do, from kind of the wine tours, the food tasting, all that cultural enrichment you get to do as well, all packaged together in this beautiful, wonderful way to see the world as well. It really is a fantastic way to travel. I can't rate it any higher. And I definitely, any of our listeners who will kind of go in, maybe river's not for me, regardless of how old you are, definitely consider taking a river cruise as soon as possible, because it is a fantastic way to see the world.
Definitely. It's destination led. River cruising is all about the destination. We don't have, massive, West End theatres on board. We're restricted with space. So, our biggest selling point about a river cruise is the amazing destinations that we visit. You couldn't get to a lot of these places we go on a river cruise unless you were on a river cruise. And I think that's the beauty of experiencing a river cruise.
I think in the evening, dining is such a big deal, isn't it? Because it's a drawn out, relaxed. I just loved the evening dining. So after that, you're having a cocktail, and then it's quite late anyway. It's a very social, very relaxed. I loved that in the evening.
The food is the experience of an evening again. Every plate that touches the table, we want to wow our guests, and the wine. You can have a little bit of time between courses and enjoy glass of included wine. And it's flexible dining, so you don't have a designated seat every evening. You can sit as a couple, if you're traveling as a group. If you're traveling, solo, you can sit with other guests. So it's really, really flexible with the dining options as well. Just really giving that clients that option to if they want to sit on their own, if they want to sit with other guests, they can. But then it's not forced upon them. The dining experience is fantastic.
Well, we started off on a table of two, Donna and I, And then by the table got bigger and bigger and bigger. And by the end of was it 5 or 6 nights, we were all on 2 big tables, weren't we? And going between tables and swapping round because we met so many friends. That was amazing.
Well, we were all fine to sit by each other as well, weren't we? No, come sit with us today. Come sit with us. Come sit by our table type of thing. No, listen, our table.
And again, that's one of the benefits about a river cruise. You're on board with what did I say? Average 150 guests. So the reality is you're going to see those same people every single day. Whereas on an ocean cruise, if you bump into people, you're not going to see them again if there's thousands of people on board. So it's more intimate. It's great for solo travelers because they are able to mix with other solo guests or other guests on board a lot easier than they would on one of the bigger ships in my opinion.
I think as well though, to put people's fears at mind, so obviously you have a lower guest capacity on board as well, but just to put people's minds at ease as well about the excursions as well. The excursions it's not everyone on the ship doing the same excursion, is it? Some of the excursions are really intimate and small as well, so it's not like all 150 of you are all going in a bus to the same place. There is limited space, and you do still have those smaller intimate tours as well, don't you? Just to put people's minds at ease, thinking everyone goes to the same place afterwards as well.
Absolutely. All of the tours are limited. We may have like a couple of tour guides if it's a really popular excursion option. Certain excursions, I know when I've done some of the active like canoeing and things in the past, they've been very limited just because you can't take out 100 canoes kind of thing. So it's smaller groups even when you're out with your local guides and experiencing the destination as well.
And there's just so much choice as well, isn't it? So not everybody does the same thing. And that's the thing that I love the most, was chatting to people at the end of the day. I'm like, oh, so what did you do today then? And people were having completely different experiences, going off and doing vastly different things. It wasn't like, oh, we did a tour and we saw these buildings. Some people did the city tour. And again, I quite like that because that's what we did in Vienna, wasn't it? We used the city tour to get into the city centre, had like an hour walk-in tour with the headsets, and then we were free to kind of go off and do our own thing then as well. So it was a really lovely way to kind of get our bearings, see the culture and the history, and then free explore then as much as we wanted to after that. You've got that choice to have as hands-on or hands-off touring experience if you wanted to as well.
Definitely, yeah. There is something for everybody on board and, off board as well with the included excursions. We try to cater for everyone. And I think that's one of the biggest things about Avalon is, our approach is to, have a choice for customers, not just kind of one approach fits all. We really want to give them that option to choose their experiences.
Oh, I loved it.
Thank you, Lois, so much for coming on. It's really great to hear, directly from the expert from Avalon as well, and just hear firsthand about, how incredible an Avalon Waterways cruise is. If you guys are interested in booking an Avalon Waterways cruise, then definitely I would love to help you. You could find me online under magical-traveler.com, and you can find all my social media as well under magical TRVLR. I do have a ship tour on my YouTube channel as well of Avalon Envision from when we were on board. It took me a year, but I finally got it finished and it's now online, so you can see that online. But then Sarah as well, I know you've got loads of content as well from our time on board Avalon. Where can the guys find that?
So you can find that on Cruising for All, but I'll also pop a link with a photo tour of Avalon Envision in the comments because the ship is stunning and you really need to see it.
And with that, guys, we hope you've enjoyed this episode and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.